Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Maria, and today I'm going to be trying out the new Hourglass eyeshadows. I picked these up from Selfridges and I haven't opened them yet. They're still in the plastic bag that they came in, which they say is 100% compostable. Now, these eyeshadows were really expensive. There is no doubt about it. And I was trying to think of any other eyeshadows that I have that would come close to this price. But I actually don't have anything in my collection, even though I have Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath and Chanel and Dior and quite a few of the luxury brands. None are expensive as this. But there was a recent new release from Louis Vuitton when they put out makeup, and I had a look at those prices and they are fairly similar. Louis Vuitton comes out a little bit cheaper by about 20 to 40 New Zealand dollars. But with Louis Vuitton, you had to pay for the eyeshadow palettes separately and the shadows that you popped in, just like you have to do with these Hourglass products. So Hourglass calls them curated products. So you can either create your own eyeshadow look, or there are the 3-pan palettes or the 5-pan palettes that come already curated for you. So I chose a 5-pan palette, and I got one that was already, as they say, curated for me. So it already had a colour story. But the palette is sold separately, as the eyeshadows. So for this little bundle here, this was, I've got notes in front of me so I don't get the pricing wrong. It was, well, it came to 255 New Zealand dollars. So it is very pricey. And I do have a few other Hourglass products. I quite like their blushes. I used to use all the time the Veil setting powder, I think it's called. I've got that in front of me. It's the Hourglass, the Veil Translucent setting powder. So a lot of people have been saying Hourglass have lost their mind and with the pricing of these shadows, and there's no doubt that they are very, very expensive. But a while ago, when I recently purchased the Chanel, it is the Natural Finish Loose Setting Powder, I did a comparison because I used to use the Hourglass one all the time until I bought this, and this is now my favorite. So as a price comparison, to show you that how Hourglass can be really pricey, their translucent setting powder is 10.5 grams. And I had a look this morning on the website, and I think it was around 78 New Zealand dollars. Now that's for 10.5 grams. The Chanel is 30 grams, and this costs 100 New Zealand dollars. So if Hourglass were to make it the same amount of powder as the Chanel, you'd be looking at probably 220 New Zealand dollars, 230 New Zealand dollars. Some people may think it's overpriced, but they certainly can put out products that are on the very expensive side. So I'm now going to open up this packet. I'm going to edit this part out because it's going to be really noisy. So you can buy these eyeshadows individually, and each eyeshadow is 46 New Zealand dollars. That's for one eyeshadow. The single pan to put one eyeshadow in costs 16 New Zealand dollars. If you want to buy the 3-pan to fill it with your own colour story, that's 19 New Zealand dollars. And if you buy the 5-pan palette, just like this, that still needs to be filled up, that sells for 25 New Zealand dollars. And each eyeshadow is 1 gram or 0.03 of an ounce. The colour story that I got is called Ice Steel, and these eyeshadows come in 4 different finishes. There are mattes, shimmers, satins and metallics. Overall there are 40 shades, and I'll put that range up here. When I'm editing, I'll try and download a photo of that so you can see all the different shades. So there is quite a big shade range to choose from, and Hourglass are notorious for not being inclusive with their bronzers and some of their other products that they have. For the amount of time that they've been around, they certainly could have much more of shade ranges within their different products that they sell. The Hourglass products that I do have, though, I do enjoy. It would be considered a high-end luxury product, and definitely with these prices it would be considered really luxury. But there are people out there that are Hourglass fans. They probably want to see how these eyeshadows perform, so I thought I would pick up a palette. I chose the Ice Steel because I like those really cool colours. Got a blues and it's got some silvers in it and a taupe colour as well. So I'll open up the palette first and take a look at it. And this is the eyeshadow case. They say this is crafted from tin, and inside there is a mirror and a place to pop all your different individual shadows in. Apparently these are a snap in and snap out type of deal, and when you put them in, apparently they make a click and they stay in quite securely. So I'll be trying that out in a minute. So the mirror is quite generous sized, and the material surrounding where you put your shadows, this would be what they say on their website is post-consumer recycled plastic. And on the top is Hourglass in a raised type of lettering. The container is quite nice. It's sort of a medium weight. It does feel quite luxury in the hand. So let's take a look at the shadows that I got. So I'll take out the colour Ice, and this is a metallic, and they describe this as a true silver. So inside the packet is a little leaflet. They must have that in every single one, and there's no way I'll be able to read that without my glasses on. And in a plastic type of case that I would hope would be recyclable as well, especially for the amount that they're charging, is the eyeshadow itself. So what I'm going to do is take out the 5 eyeshadows that I have, and I'm going to pop them in the tin, and we'll take a look at them and then I'll swatch them. So these are the eyeshadows once they are in the pan. They snap in quite easily. You just have to press them quite firmly where there is the embossed H there for the Hourglass eyeshadow, and once they're in, they are really, really firm, and there's no way that they're going to drop out. So this, as I said, is the Ice Steel palette, and from left to right, the colours are, we've got the colour Air, which is a matte, and that's described as a shell colour. Then there's the colour Alt, and that is a satin, and it's described as a soft taupe colour. Next is Ice, that's a metallic, and that's described as a true silver. Then is Ash, that's a metallic, and that's described as pewter. And the very last shade is called Yet, and that is a matte, and that is described as a navy. So it'll be really interesting to see how these blend and what the formulas are like, especially with the navy. Dark blues can sometimes be quite difficult to blend. So I'm going to swatch these on my arm and do it from left to right. So this is the shade Air. This is the colour Alt. This is Ice. This one is Ash. And the very last one is yet the navy. These eyeshadows did feel super smooth when I swatched them on my arm, and I don't think it shows that well on camera. And there's a couple of shades, especially the first one, that's more closer to my skin tone, so you can't really see. The shades look really pretty, and as I said, they felt really nice, and so they should for the amount of money that they cost. But the real test is going to be how they go on my eyes, and also whether they crease throughout the day and if they last for a decent amount of time. So when it comes to whether they crease or the lasting power of these eyeshadows, I will pin a comment once I've uploaded this video and let you know. I plan to wear these shadows for at least 8, if not about 10 hours. So I want to use all of these shadows in the palette, and I'm going to start off with the lightest shade, and that is the shade Air. And I'm going to take the Sonia G Jumbo Blender, and I'm going to put that shade all over my lids. You probably won't be able to see much because of the colour. I forgot to say that I was wearing eyeshadow primer. I always do all the time, and even when I'm testing out new eyeshadows, it's the MAC Paint Pot one. Now this first shadow that I've just put on, you won't see a difference because I can't either. It's very similar to my skin tone. If anything, it's just helped set down the primer more, and maybe it'll make the other shadows go on better. But unless you had really, my skin type's more of a light to medium. It's winter here in New Zealand, so I'm light to medium at the moment. If you were very fair, it may show. So now I'm going to go in with the second colour here. This is the colour Alt, and they describe this as a satin, and it is a soft taupe colour. So I'm going to use the Rephr number 14 brush and put that in my crease and just above, so I can see how well this blends. There is a little bit of kick up in the pan. And using that same colour, I'm going to take my Rephr number 3 brush. Again, this shade isn't showing a lot on my eye, so I'm just building the colour, but I just want to run a bit underneath, and I don't think you'll be able to see much payoff on camera. So now I want to go into the navy shade here. This is a matte. I'm going to take my Rephr number 15 brush and put this on the outer corner of my eye. And then using the same colour, taking the Rephr number 3 brush and just going to put some underneath the lower lash line as well. These shadows do blend really well. I don't have any difficulty blending them, and this navy also blended out really beautifully as well. Sometimes I've found with a few the deeper blue eyeshadows that I've used, sometimes they can be a little bit patchy, and sometimes you sort of have to pack them on carefully first and then slowly blend them out, but I didn't have to do that with this, so there's definitely no issues with blending. So now I'm going to take the Sonia G, it's the Builder 3 brush, and I'm going to go into this shade here, which is called Ice, and this is a metallic shade. to somehow use this darkest shade. This one is called Ash, and that's a metallic as well. So I might use that, I think, as a little bit more underneath my lower lash line to see if I can just get a little bit more definition there. And using that same shade, I'm going to take my Hourglass number 10 brush and put some on the upper lash line to get some more definition. This is a decent size mirror here, which is good. And I just used the BK Beauty 204 brush, and I put a bit of that metallic pewter shade just in the inner corners. The darker shade Ash went really well on the upper lash line, and overall I think the shadows look really beautiful. Perhaps for me, these first two shades probably a bit pointless with my skin tone. I could probably have just used these three colors here, but overall I really like the shadows. I think they go on really well. The metallics have a beautiful finish. The metallic formula would and the matte would probably be similar to Natasha Denona formula, I would say. It's hard to tell. They were definitely easy to blend, and you do get a lot of payoff. But is the look that I created today worth the 255 New Zealand dollars that I spent on it? Well, I'm going to now finish the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. And here is the final look with this 255 New Zealand dollar palette. I think it's really, really beautiful, but the question is it worth the money? Well, I buy a lot of makeup, obviously, for my beauty channel, and would I purchase this again? Probably not. I could get the same look or something very similar out of the palettes that I already have, either from a Pat McGrath palette or a Natasha Denona palette, because I have quite a few of both of those brands. But it does blend beautifully, there's no doubt about it. Do I think it's worth it? Well, if you are a die-hard fan of Hourglass products, then you aren't going to be disappointed. The packaging, I think, is really, really beautiful. It feels luxe. It feels quite good in the hand. It's not lightweight. The shadows stay in the pan beautifully. They're easy to clip in. It was just with this palette, I just felt that these two shades probably weren't necessary for today's look. As I said, I could have done this look with these three shades here. I was impressed with the matte shade here, the navy color. I thought it blended really, really beautiful, and it also looks really pretty on the eyes as well. Now, when I finished off my makeup, I didn't add any eyeliner. I just put on some mascara. I just wanted you to see how these shadows look really by themselves and what you can do with them. And Hourglass do have a good shade range. There are 40 shades. So instead of the two lighter colors that I got, and if you're interested in getting a palette, then maybe you know now to stay away from those and go for ones with a little bit more depth in them. But overall, it is a really beautiful palette. It's just one that I won't be buying again. I would rather spend my money on some new Chanel products or Dior shadows that come out, or Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, one of those well and truly loved products. And as I said earlier, I will wear this eyeshadow for probably about 10 hours today, and I will pin a comment and let you know whether they creased and if they lasted and had the same colour that they have now by the end of the 10 hours. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.